360 degrees of gnosis. Think. What we think, that does something. What does it do? Whatever we think about, we bring about. What's going on, my high vibrational individual expressions of God on earth? It's your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, aka Master Teacher 33. Today we want to reveal, explain, illuminate, and simplify for you. Think creates feelings. Feelings creates actions. At least that's the way it should work. So we want to break down the importance. We're going to give an old-fashioned biblical, perspective or look at think, feel, and act. Think, feel, and act. We're going to go from Romans. We're going to break this down inside of the Helios Biblios, which is what I like to do. We know that it's mentioned inside of the King Jimmy twice, Philippians 2:5 and Jeremiah 15:1. We're going to be going from Philippians 2:5. Let this mind. So I'm using my blueletterbible.org. You guys know. Going back to my biblical days. We want to delve into, I like to do didactic teachings. I like to get into the etymology of the terms that we're using. So we see here where it says, let this mind. So we're going to be coming from, we're going to be using this word, the English word mind, which is going to delve into the Greek word. We'll get the correct pronunciation. I think it's phroneo, but let's break it down here.
Strong's G 5426. Phroneo. Phroneo.
Phroneo. So we're going to be breaking down this Greek word, phroneo. Now, brothers and sisters, what we're talking about is the ability to think. Out of everything that the biblical narrative commands us to do, one of the most important things to do is to think. Let me make sure my camera's coming. Let me check my image here. We got to be able to think. It'd be great if we all were taking or giving classes on not only from a biblical perspective, but just from a traditional perspective of how to speak. And so bear with me just a second. I'm breaking this down here. Putting up my live video, my live feed, just to make sure it's coming through okay. And when we talk about thinking, we want to, let me turn this right, that's the thing, turn it around. Okay, there we go. All right, so we want to break down this word thinking. And thinking is a process. Just like everything in life. Everything in life, you know, there's a process, there's a way that we do stuff. Like my cup. And when we delve into the process of thinking, remember, whatever you think, you feel. Whatever you feel, that's how you act. Whatever you think, you feel. Whatever you feel, that's how you act. That's it, man. That's the secret to life. That's the key to everything. Everything is based upon how you think. So if you don't think correctly, you don't feel correctly. If you don't feel correctly, based upon how you think, you don't act correctly. So everything in life is about your ability to consciously become aware of how you're thinking. So when we're talking about this is very important because your whole life depends upon your ability to bring every thought into captivity and see if it is of God, just like the Bible tells us to. Whether you believe in the Bible or not, it's not a study for another time. Again, I like to use the biblical reference because that's my culture. That's the way I was raised. But you can look at it from a neuroscience perspective. You can look at it from a reticular activating system. The brain, you have a triune brain. Most people think you got two brains, left hemisphere, right hemisphere. But you also have at the base of, you have sitting on the top of your spiritual antenna, which is your spinal cord, you have the reticular activating system. So we got three brains, not two. The triune brain. So the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere is divided by the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum is a bundle of nerves, again, that's connected to the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system, again, it's sealed it's like the way it talks about in the Bible when it talks about, when Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden and God put an angel with a flaming sword. That's the cerebellum. That's that flaming sword is a reticular activating system. It only lets things into the garden that is approved by the belief system that has been established. So the reticular activating system blocks anything that doesn't validate the current belief. That's huge. The reticular activation system blocks any belief. This is called consciousness, or this is called cognitive bias. So we all have a consciousness or a cognitive bias. I'm biased, you're biased. Then we have something called, a consciousness or cognitive dissonance. So what I'm doing right now is going to probably create cognitive dissonance, because I'm going to tell you some things that's going to be different from what you've been taught. We're going to get into the true biblical narrative of what your reverend, your doctor, your bishop, turn my fan on, should be doing. Probably not. But your reverend, your doctor, your bishop, they should be doing didactylos. They should be doing didactic. They should be doing where I get the word diakonia from. They should. I'm going to bet that they ain't. I'm a betting man. I'm going to put all my money on the fact that your reverend, your doctor, your bishop is not doing didactylos. They're not doing didactic teaching because they were not taught didactylos. It ain't their fault. They was not taught it either. So let's flip over, if you will. So we're going to delve into this and break this down really quickly. This is blueletterbible.org. This is just again, you can use any study guide you want. You don't have to use this one. This is just the one that I use. Hey, what's up going on? What's going on, cuz? My cousin Santel. What's up, brother? And here in Blue Letter Bible, we're talking about thinking. Called the Bible. Now, we could also look in the book of Philippians where it talks about, it tells us to think on these things. In fact, we may pull that up as well. So what I do is I like to break whatever words down didactically. I like to delve into the true original meaning of a word, because when we delve into the word, it gives us the true meaning of it. It takes away spookism. It takes away your reverend, your doctor, your bishop's opinion. They still have it. It's great to have opinions, but opinions are just like beep. Everybody has one. Everybody has an opinion. Good, bad, or indifferent. So we see here inside the Helios Biblios, it tells us in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, it tells us, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are blah, 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 blah. It goes through all of this. It tells us all of this stuff. If there be any virtue, if they do blah, 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 it tells us to do something. Think. So let me pull it back a little bit where you can see it. Let me actually pull it up. So Philippians 4:8, we'll start there. It tells us what to do. It tells us that we should think. But we have to learn how to do it, because whatever we think, we feel. Whatever we feel, bam, becomes real. So if we can just control our thinking, if we can just control with God, all things are possible. If we can just control our thinking. Excuse me, that was Matthew 19:26. So everything is about thinking. So let's go down. Philippians 4:8. So we see here, what I'm doing is I'm going through this step by step. Now, back in the day when I was doing Bible studies and I was preaching and had my, let's call it a cell or a home church. And what I did was I did didactic teaching. This is what I'm doing right now. I've been doing this my entire life. I don't know no other way other than to break things down into the Greek, into the Aramaic, into the Chaldean. That's the only way I know. I can't take your opinion. I love you. I appreciate you. I think you're very smart. I think you're very intelligent. But again, that's your personal opinion. We all have opinions, but it's yours. It's not God's. So we got to delve into what was the original meaning of the word at the time that it was written. So it tells us in Philippians 4:8, finally, brethren, and again, make sure that you're reading it. It says, finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true. So it's telling us what to think. Whatsoever. We don't got time to go through each word, but we just want to go get into thinking, because thinking creates feelings, and feelings create actions. So if somebody's not taking no action, they ain't got no feeling. They ain't got no feeling, they ain't got no thinking. So we got to change the way people think. If we could change, if we could learn, this is what I did for my own personal life. This is what I did for my children, for all the thousands of clients who went through the life management system. I don't know why they don't do this at church, but for whatever reasons, your reverend, your doctor, your bishop should be doing this, but they don't, for whatever reasons. Because it tells us whatsoever things, again, you ain't got to be no Christian, man. This is just, you can use any etymology. You can get the Webster's dictionary. I'm just choosing the Greek, the Aramaic, Chaldean, because that's my background. Whatsoever things true, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of a good report. Now, normally I would go through each one of these words, but for the sake of time, we got to just get through the meat of the message. Whatsoever things are of a good report. If there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think. So that's the word we're looking for right there. Bam, think. How do we do that? Well, thankfully, the Bible doesn't just leave you hanging if you understand biblical text. It tells us right here, if we go to Strong Concordance number G30, let me pull out. This is what I love about this. It tells you what the word means. You don't have to guess. The Bible clearly tells you when you do this. It also tells you the correct pronunciation. Because if you're like me, man, I can pronounce half of these Greek words. So it tells you.
3049. Lagizomai.
Legizomai.
Lagizomai.
So in addition to the word lagizomai, now this is what I do. Lagizomai, over here, it gives us the root word to lagizomai. We're going to break that down in a sec. But let's get into the definition of lagizomai, which tells us to think. Lagizomai, that's what it means. This is not my opinion. This is in your Bible. This is where the Bible comes from. Lagizomai means to reckon, to count. This is why I do numbers. I do math, music, and language. I don't know what your Reverend Dr. Bishop is doing. I don't know why they're not doing this, but everybody should be doing this. Now, if you high speed, you look up here, what does that say right there? Number. The world that we live in, based upon neuroscience, is based upon math, music, and language. If anybody's doing anything other than math, music, and language, you're getting conned. You're getting bamboozled. It says to reckon, to count, to commute, to calculate, to count over. Negro, those are all mathematical terms. It's mathematical, man. God took all the guesswork out. It took all the guesswork out. This is a mathematical construct. It says take into account. It says to make an account of, to pass to one's account, to impute. Excuse me. These are all accounting terms. These are all accounting terms. It means to pass to one's account. Look at the words that are used to think. To think is to reckon. It's telling us right there to reckon, to be something, as availing for, the equivalent to do something, to number among, to reckon or account, accounting. Thinking is accounting. It's an accounting term. To reckon, it means to consider, to take into account, to weigh, to meditate, to determine, to purpose, to decide. So this is what we're supposed to be doing. Because if you can think, you can feel. Remember, a spirit is a thinking process that is dominant. So you can have a spirit of alcohol. That means that you are counting, you're commuting, you're calculating, you are mulling over, you're passing to one's account. It means that whatever you're doing, you are counting. You're thinking is counting stuff, adding a bunch of stuff together. If you got a spirit of lust, that means that that means that you are imputing, reckoning, counting, account, suppose, reason, numbering. That's what it is. Now that's breaking it down again, coming from Philippians. So legizomai. Now underneath the word legizomai, Again, we got to go through the etymology. Is this word? So we click on that word. Now that has a word. So you got to go through each word. So underneath the word lagizomai is this word. Go figure. So now we got to break down, what does that word mean? So first of all, we get the correct pronunciation on the word.
Strong's G 3056. Logos. Logos.
So thinking also means logos. So we delve down, we drop down, we see the word logos, and it tells us, it appears in Strong Concordance, the number of times that it's in there. It says saying, account, word. So logos means what? Speech. So thinking is speaking. Logos means word uttered by a living voice. So boo-boo, do you have a pulse? If you got a pulse, you're living. So thinking means abracadabra. I create what I speak. So thinking says to embody, but you gotta utter a voice that embodies a concept or an idea. What someone has said. That's thinking. A word, a saying of God, a decree, a mandate, an order, moral precepts, testimony, discourse, didactic discourse. But notice the number one meaning, it means speech. So thinking has to do with what you're speaking. If we continue down the word, look at this definition, man, how rich it is. It is a continuous speaking. It's a continuous discourse, instruction. So this is what thinking is. Doctrine is teaching. It's a matter that's under discussion. So when you're talking, what I'm doing right now is causing people to think. But I like if you keep going down, look at these terms. Account, answer and explanation, accounting, numbers, math, music, language, math. Thinking is mathematical. It's calculating. Now, that's the second word. What is declared? Thinking is what is declared. It's a thought. It's a declaration, an aphorism, weighty saying, dictum, maxim. That's all the definition of thinking. You should be doing that every single day. You should be thinking. So underneath this word logos, we have this word. This is the third word for one English word. So the third word that breaks down the English word thinking is this Greek word, and let's get the correct pronunciation.
Strong's G 3004. Lego.
So that Greek word, Lego. So we got, the first word was logizomai. The second word was logos. The third word is Lego. So all of these words you got to combine to get the true definition. Again, to say, to speak, to affirm. That's where we get affirmations from. To maintain, to teach, to exalt, to advise, to command, to direct, to point out with words what you intend, what you mean. What do you mean, bro? It means to call by name. Why y'all think I do name reports? To call by name, to call, to name, to speak out. All of this is thinking. So when you combine this, so then we go back up, I go back up to the page, and I make sure, is there any more root words? Because you got to go through, that's what etymology is, brothers and sisters. Etymology is going through and breaking down each word to get to the true esoteric hidden meaning of the word. And so if I reverse this word, thinking means to speak, to affirm, to teach, to exalt. What I'm doing right now is considered thinking. Next is the word logos. Underneath that word, logos, again, a word, a speaking, an utterance from a living voice. And the first word that we said, lagizomai, the definition of that word went to reckon, to count. So I'm talking and I'm teaching and I'm saying something and I'm taking into account. I want to make an account. I'm calculating. So I am determining. I am weighing and I am considering what I am saying. That's a part of thinking. That's a part of thinking. Now let's go over to the meat of the message when we jump over and we look at Philippians. And Philippians tells us that I want to put that in my mind. What do I want to put in my mind? what I'm saying, what I'm thinking, I want to put that in my mind. That's all this is saying. That simply means, I got to turn back over so I can see you. So that way you can look at my face, eyeball to eyeball, because this is so important. Most reverends, doctors, and bishops, I've never heard this taught. I've been teaching for 30 years, and I haven't never heard this taught in a traditional church. Now, that's too close. That's why I want to do this. Make sure that my is correct. So when we understand, pull it back a little bit. So when we understand Doc, what are you saying? All I'm simply expressing to you today is the importance of being able to connect with people on a level that is spiritual, that is intellectual, that actually is beneficial. So that way people are able to connect with God, source, and get results. Take out all the spookism. Take out all the easy believism. Take out all the manipulation. Just give me the word. Just give me, break it down so that way I can use my own brain. I appreciate you, but I don't need you to think for me. Not you personally. People, I can think for myself. So don't do the hamana and all of that stuff. That's cool. Don't get it twisted. But just give me some meat. Give me the meat of the word. So thinking, if we go back now to Philippians, let's get back into this. If we go back to Philippians, let this mind. So thinking takes place in the mind. Let this mind, and then it tells us, let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. So it's breaking this down for us. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ Jesus. So we want to put on the mind of Christ, right? Especially if you know from a biblical perspective. Now, if you come from a different perspective, the words still are the same. The definitions are the same. They just point to a different culture, a different belief system. But the meaning of the words, brothers and sisters, whoever determines the definitions of the words that you use, they determine the quality of your life. Whoever controls the definition of the words that you use control the quality of your life. I recommend you control the quality of your own life. Let this mind. So this word mind, there is Strong Concordance number G. And then I clicked on it. And it tells you right here the concordance number G5426. And that's where we get this word. So let's break it down. This is the meat of the message for success.
G5426. Phraneo. Phraneo.
So that Greek word. Now we can look it up in the Aramaic, the Chaldean, cuneiform. If I had the time, I would go through all of the different languages. But we're just doing first base today. Phraneo. So that Greek word phraneo, for the English word mind. When we scroll down and we look at the definitions of that word, this is what you should be doing. How many people you know that's doing this? To have understanding, to be wise, to feel, to think, to have an opinion of one's self. Boom. Man, I hope that God that registers. I don't know if you understood what I just said. Let me say it again. To have an opinion of one's self, not the reverend, not the doctor, not the bishop, yourself. Self-worth determines net worth. I know a lot of people, but they don't think. Thinking is when you have an opinion of yourself. That's what the word means. We're looking it up. I just pulled up the definition. So thinking means that you have a mindset. You have a mental disposition. It tells you right there to have an understanding, to be wise, to feel, to have an opinion of oneself, to be modest. Not let one's opinion, though just, of oneself exceed the bounds of modesty. To think, to judge what one's opinion is, not other people, your own. To be of the same mind. Agree together, cherish, to direct one's mind to a thing, to seek to strive for. So thinking is this process of understanding oneself. You put that in your mind. Now that's what I call first base, right? Why is that first base? Because there's an underlining meaning to that Greek word phroneo. So the Greek word phroneo has a underlining word. So we click on that underlining word. That underlining word takes us to this Greek word. So now we got to break down that word. Let's get the meaning of it.
Strong's G
Pronunciation.
5424. Frame. Frame.
So frame. So underneath the word phroneo is the word frame. Now we scroll down. The definition of the word frame. It means midriff, diaphragm. So it's like your gut, the parts of the heart, the mind, the faculty of perceiving and judging. So thinking is the ability to perceive and judge, and it's supposed to be in your mind. Now, if we had the time, we could go into these definitions down here. The Thayer's Lexicon, Strong Concordance, and all of these other definitions, then we could really do some serious damage by delving into the, understanding the midriff portion of the body, figuratively, by implication and sympathy, the feelings, sensitivity of nature, by extension, the mind or cognitive faculties. All of this, brothers and sisters, is called etymology. This is what I do for a living. This is didactic teaching. So what I do is I break down each word until there's no more words left. So we see underneath this word, frame, there is another word. So we keep going. That's why a lot of people don't do this, because it's time consuming. So we look up the third word.
Strong's G 5420. Fraso. Fraso.
So the next word is fraso. We're still talking about thinking. We're still talking about the mind. We're still talking about the brain. We're still talking about whatever you think you feel. Whatever you feel, that's what you're going to do. So that word fraso means to fence in, block up, stop up, close up, to put to silence. Thinking means you are putting a fence up. Thinking means you're putting up a block. You're blocking it, means you're stopping. Thinking means, like if you have a hotel and all the rooms are taken, there's no room. So thinking is a block. It's a fence. Thinking, when you already have a thought, I can't put new thoughts in there. That's why you got to be careful what thoughts you put in there. Thinking. Thinking, and then we go, look at this definition, fraso. Apparently strengthening form of the base. It means that you're strengthening the base. You're putting up a fence. You're enclosing something to block up. That's how you put people to silence. You put people to silence when you are able to put up a fence around your brain. So the way that you stop negative thoughts from coming into the brain is when your brain is so filled up with your own thoughts, there's no room for negative thoughts. So if your brain is full of positive thoughts, there's no room for negative thoughts. That's how I do. I don't have no room for negativity because my brain is already full. There's a fence around it. Fraso. And then we go underneath this word fraso, we click on it again, and it takes us back where? To the word that we just looked at, frame. And then look at this loop though. And then if you click on this word again, after frame, we get the same word, fraso. That word fraso. So we got fraso, frame. Fraso, frame. Fraso, frame. So thinking is fraso and frame. Fraso and frame means that you're putting something into the brain through the faculty of perceiving and judging. That's fraso. Fraso is putting something into the brain through the process of perceiving and judging. Through the process of perceiving and judging. Now, since there isn't a deeper dive into this word, perceiving and judging, what we can do is we can type that in so that we can get let's get a little deeper understanding of those two words, perceiving and judging. So that way, again, all we're doing is breaking down. That's counting. This is verbal accounting. That's what thinking is. Thinking is verbal accounting. So I just went to Perplexity AI and typed in that word perceiving and judging. And then that way we can get just a basic, and then you can go to dictionary.com, you can go to anywhere and get a basic understanding of this word perceiving and the word judging, especially just from, again, so it just gives us some definitions: judging, the strengths, perceiving, cognitive. So it has to do with the way by which the human brain works. That's all we're doing. And if we go over to dictionary.com, not dictionary.com, let's type in perceive, and there it is right there. Perceive. To become aware. So we're talking about consciousness. Thinking is the ability to become aware or conscious. That's all it is. Thinking is the ability to become aware or conscious of something. To come to realize and understand. That's what thinking is. Now, again, that we looked at the biblical perspective first. Now we just go on to dictionary.com or any dictionary, because it's very important, because people don't know how to do this, because we're not taught what it means. So if you're thinking about something, you're supposed to be able to come to a level of awareness of something. That's what it means. It's this ability to go, again, if we go back to the biblical perspective, same thing, where we get into the faculty of perceiving and judging. That's thinking. Thinking is the faculty of perceiving and judging. Consciousness, awareness, perception. This ability to be able to perceive. That's all we're talking about. We're talking about the ability to perceive. Why is that so important? Because your ability to perceive determines your ability to receive. Woo! Let me say that again for the folks in the back. Your ability to perceive, let me flip over my camera, show you, that's the wife that's over there. See how misty that is over there? Yeah, that's the wife stuff. Okay, yeah, I'm just playing. So your ability, your ability to perceive determines what you receive. Let me say it again. Your ability to perceive determines what you receive. One more time. Your ability to perceive determines your ability to receive. What you receive is based upon what you perceive. So if you cannot perceive, you can't receive. Man, oh man, let me turn my fan up. It's getting hot in here. Your ability to receive is determined, controlled, established some of that by your ability to perceive. Perceive is awareness. Awareness is perception. Perception is discernment. Discernment is noticing stuff. Man, now let me get this right. There's something between where you are, or let's say there's something missing. You want to have, or you want to receive something. You already got it. You just can't see it. Now, this is the smoking gun. You want to pay attention to this part. God said, the Bible says, the universe, science says everything already exists. If we look at the double helix experiment, if we look at quantum physics, if we look at the wave state, everything exists in the wave. The wave is unlimited possibilities. Whatever you could think is in the wave, according to physics. according to science. So the way that you collapse the wave is through observation, according to physics, according to science, quantum physics, the way computers work. So quantum computers work on the wave state. Unlimited possibilities exist, just like a TV channel. You tune in to a specific channel and it pulls it out of unlimited channels. Same thing. But how do you change your TV channel? How do you change the radio station? How do I pick? I went to my closet. I have a plethora of shirts, but I picked this shirt. How did I pick it? Perception, awareness. I collapsed. I selected through observation, through discernment, through the ability of choosing. But I had to notice it, that the shirts are in the closet. So you have to notice that's an option. So what if you can't notice? See, we don't notice that we have unlimited options. We believe that we have limited options because the reverend, the doctor, the bishop, or somebody told you that. It's not bad, it's not good, it just is. So your ability to expand your options and then select the option that you want, and you put all of your focus, you put all of your attention, you put all of your time on that option, and it collapses. That means that it manifests in your life. So whatever you think, it creates feelings. Then whatever you feel gives you motivation, it gives you inspiration, it gives you enthusiasm to take action. And that action results. So at the end of the day, if you want to be a millionaire, number one, think like a millionaire. Number two, feel like a millionaire. Number three, act like a millionaire. That's the secret. The secret to success. You want to be a dog catcher. Think like a dog catcher. Feel like a dog catcher. Act like a dog catcher. Whatever you want to be, think. So how do you think? If you want to be a millionaire, think like a millionaire. Your next question should be, how do millionaires think? Well, the best thing to do is get around other millionaires. Now you got access to unlimited, so nobody has an excuse now. So you can research, you can Google, you can jump on, ChatGPT or Claude, and you could research to find out what do neuroscientists think, what do they believe, what do they perceive, and what do they know. Whatever it is that you want. Now for me, I don't do that. I became aware of how I'm designed. I'm looking for my design report, if I can find it here. And that changed my life. Because I didn't, I'm like, man, I'm doing this the hard way. I was doing like everybody else. I was doing what I was taught. I was doing what I was, I wasn't doing what was natural. I wasn't authentic. That's why I created the Dear Canoe Report. That's why I created the Life Management System. That's why I created in the Destiny Report. So at my website, DearCanoeReport.com, and let me show you this real quickly. I created this because I, like most people, I did not know exactly what I was the best in the world at. I didn't know what my innate attributes and characteristic was. I had an idea, but I didn't know with beyond a shadow of a doubt. So what I did was I had to find a system that could tell me everything about myself. And then that's when I created this system. This is a system that's based upon what they call gematria, the Kabbalah, or math, music, and language, or theomathematics, or biblical alphanumerics. And I put it inside of what I call the life management system. That's all I did. Because I knew that if I could figure this out for myself, I could figure it out for everyone else. And so what I did was I had to find out, okay, where I'm at right now. That was the hardest thing to do. Why do I do what I do? People could tell me what I was doing, but they didn't tell me why I was doing it. Why? If you got an urge, if you are a risk taker, you like taking risk. There's a reason why you like taking risk. Why? You got to find out why. Why determines how high you fly. No why, no fly. Once you figure out the why, bam, that controls how high you fly. So what I did was I found out my current pattern. Find out where I'm at. That's module number 1. I call that your current habit pattern or your negative habit pattern. Next thing you got to do is you got to get your life-sustaining pattern. Your life-sustaining pattern is the innate attributes and characteristics that God gave you. Then number 3, you got to flip them out. Behavior modification. That leads to number 4, which is what I call wealth creation. 5, nutrition. 6, wisdom. 7, relationships. That is the entire life management system. So I created that for myself. Now I assist or created that for everyone else. So brothers and sisters, that's it. I just wanted to break down the importance of understanding thinking, feeling, because that determines habit. That determines what you have. What you think determines what you feel. What you feel determines what you feel. Sorry about that. The inability to control that is the number 1 issue on the planet. What is the number 1 issue on the planet? We don't think for ourselves. The inability to think for oneself is the number 1 issue on the planet. Because once you learn how to think, you learn how to feel. Once you learn how to feel, you learn what is real. So brothers and sisters, man, thank you guys. I know that was a lengthy process, but I wanted to go through and show you step by step what that word think means biblically, coming out of Philippians 4:6. And we went through also, second verse we did was in Romans. What were we at? We broke down the mind. We broke down the word mind, which is that Greek word phroneo and that Greek word phaso. We broke those two down to help you understand, especially from a biblical perspective, the importance of thinking for oneself. Because whatever you think about, that's what you bring about. Man, I love you. I appreciate you. I'm going to see you at the top. God bless. Think, act, feel, part 2. Think, act, feel, part 2. How to think, how to feel, how to act, part 2. I broke down earlier today that thinking is this process based upon the biblical definitions. We went out of Philippians, was it 2:5, when we broke down, and we also went out of Romans. Was if Philippians breaks down, when it says, think on these things, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, so on and so forth. Romans, let this mind be in you, mind, phroneo. We broke all of that down in part 1. So, how do you change if you have a negative thought? You want to have a positive thought. You're thinking about poverty, thinking about your problems. How do you think and feel your solution? How do you change how you think? The easiest, the fastest, the best way, what I do is I recall. I remember. Recall and remember, or remembering, is the best way to change thoughts. If you want to change what you're thinking, the best way to change what you're thinking is to think about a thought. Remember, recall a thought or recall an event where something that you want to think about happened. Recall an event about something that you want to think about has happened. You're feeling sad because you're thinking about, let's say, for example, a loved one passed away. God forbid, but let's say a loved one passed away. Someone really close to you. So you're feeling sad. Best thing to do is to think about the memories of you and that loved one during good times. Another way to change what you're thinking when you're feeling sad and you want to feel more or feel different, watch a comedy show. Remember back in the day, Kings of Comedy? Well, watch. Very hard to be sad when you're watching something that is funny. Now, you can also, in addition to recall, in addition to remember, you can also engage in a fun activity. Go to like a, park. Go to an amusement park. Take the kids. Go to play some games. we go to like Amazing John. Go to some place where people are engaged. People are doing activities that are fun. Do activities that are fun. So you recall, remember, and engage in activities. Let's say you want to change from feeling poor or broke. So if you want to change that feeling, you have to recall, you have to remember, and then you have to enact. To change your thoughts and your feelings from thinking something that you do not want to think. Think by remembering. Because according to neuroscience, the brain cannot tell the difference between something that is remembered, something that is recalled, and something that is actually taking place. So if you can recall, if you can remember a time when you received a large lump sum of money, I can remember, I can recall times when I did very well on a certain launch, product launch or sale. So you want to recall, you want to remember. Then you want to go to a place, you want to engage in activity. Do something that activates the feeling that you want to act. So if, regardless of what you're feeling right now, you acknowledge it, you process it, but you're ready to change. You're ready to establish. You want to live in your desire fulfilled state. The key to life is living as if all of your desires are fulfilled. Okay, that's great. How do you do it? How do you live like you're already wealthy and you're not? How do you live like you're already healthy if you're not? How do you live like you're wise and you're not? How do you live like you're in a great relationship and you're not? Remember, recall, and enact. That's how you change your feelings. You change your thoughts instantly. You change them instantly by watching, by remembering. If you can watch someone else making a lot of money, the brain thinks you're making a lot of money. If you can remember, if you can recall a time when you made a lot of money, bring it up. Get into how you felt. Let your brain go. Consciously construct an imagination. Consciously recall. Consciously remember. Consciously imagine. Don't let your conscious wonder force yourself to watch, to recall a memory or a memory when you were wealthy or someone else, when you were healthy or someone else. Find a video, someone else who had the disease that you got and they cured themselves. Watch it over and over and over. Trick the brain into believing that it's you. The brain cannot tell the difference between reality and memories, fiction, movies. Let me say that again slow. Research, all of Dr. Bruce Lipton stuff, all of Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff, all of my stuff on neuroscience and neurotheology. If this is new to you, if you never heard this before, pick up my books on neurotheology and nutrition. Pick up my books on how to think. It's extremely important. Change the way you think. Think thoughts. Just like the Bible says, like I said in part 1. Think on these things. Change your thoughts. Change your thoughts. Change your thoughts. Change your feelings. Change your feelings. Change your willings. When you change your feelings, change your willings. Reeling. Whatever you're pulling towards you. Because whatever you receive is determined by what you believe. Whatever you receive is determined by what you believe. It's unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe. It's not your mama, not your daddy. It's not your Sheerans, not your aunts and your uncles. Ain't the reverend, ain't the doctor, ain't the bishop. Boo-boo. It's done unto you as you believe. Change your thoughts instantly. The way that you change your thoughts instantly is to simply recall and remember a time when you were wealthy. Recall and remember a time when you were healthy. Recall and remember a time when you were wise. Recall and remember a time when you was in a great relationship with yourself, with your God, and with others. It's done unto you as you recall. It is your job, brothers and sisters, not nobody else's. It's done unto you as you believe. It's done unto you as you believe. And the way to change your beliefs instantly is for you to recall and remember and engage. Pick up the book. Think, feel, act today. Website, masterteacher30.com. Holla at your boy.